All right, we should be live any moment. And there we go, right away. I like that. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and critical thinkers out in the world. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Barn on 11970. And I got another live show that I want to base it on some thoughts that I would like to share with you while they're fresh in my mind, and get all of the people that I consider the free thinkers, the critical thinkers, the ones that look outside the box and don't just follow the mainstream ideas just because they're popular doesn't always mean they're right. So, to anyone who's watching this, whether you're going to watch this live or you're watching it days, weeks, months later, I want you to think about this. So, welcome to all those that are already starting to appear. I always appreciate those who want to listen to what I have to say and my opinions on things. And always keep in mind, these are my opinions, so you don't always have to agree. Just appreciate the fact that I'm not scripted, I'm not told what to say, I'm not bought and paid for. I just try and think from my own processes and my own thoughts. So, with that being said, um, I am a firm believer in all things happen for a reason, and timing is always everything. And there's a reason why I got back into comic books. I started watching some of the old comic book shows that I used to watch that I stopped watching when I shut down my other channel for a while. And one of the shows I watched tonight was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've watched that show for a long time. I stopped watching for a little bit, got back into it again, and had some catching up to do. Well, here's the interesting thing that I heard tonight, because I say all the time, when you pay attention, when you focus on more than what's being programmed to you, that's why you watch programs on the television, is you start to notice there are messages that can be deciphered. They could be coincidence. I'm not going to rule that out. Or they could be there purposely. I will let you decide that. I'm not here to make you think in any other way than you want to. The beautiful thing about any belief system is it can always be changed or redirected. So that's up to you in which direction you want to go. But my belief is there's a lot of different messages that can be decoded in movies, in music, television shows, if you're paying attention. If you're not focusing on that, it's just entertainment or a distraction at best. So with that being said, the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., just to give a long story, a shorter version, it's almost like a Matrix scenario where they have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the majority of them, in a virtual reality where they don't realize that the world that they're in is not real, and they're replaced with basically robots that look like them, who in the beginning are not self-aware that they are anything other than the human counterpart that they thought they were. And at one point, they start realizing what's going on. And there are two main characters, Agent Coulson, who was at one point the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., and bear with me, this will have meaning behind it. And the female character, her name is, what's her name? The one that was, I just went blank. But the other female character, not the one that plays Quake, but the other woman, Agent May. There we go. They both realize that they're robots or androids or whatever. And Agent Coulson goes to Agent May at one point. Everything's under control. In other words, they were in a situation and they were basically trying to say everything's under control. And Agent May said something that really made me think, and I want you to think about this, because this is what this channel is all about. It's free thinking, critical thinking. It doesn't always mean we get it right, but we are not afraid to question, or we're not afraid to look into deeper meanings behind what is right on the surface. Magicians want you to look at the surface. They don't want you to see the stuff underneath, because then you'll be amazed by their illusions. But when Agent Coulson said everything's under control, she said, by whom? So I want you to think about that. How I talk about, and how many people talk about, how we're all being controlled. Now, is it like the Matrix? I highly doubt it, but I wouldn't put anything past anybody at this point. But if you think about just monetary control and the government control and the media control and the education control and how they control things that are in your foods and how they control things that are in your medicines, there are some forms of control, whether we want to admit it or not. If you think you're totally free, take all your possessions and leave wherever you are and try to leave whatever country you're in and see if anybody tries to stop you. They absolutely will. So freedom is an illusion. But how many times when there's a dire situation or a bad situation or a scary situation or whatever, where authorities will tell you it's okay, everything's under control. Now, I want you to think about those words. Everything is under control. Separate those words and take it in a deeper meaning. Everything is under control. Well, whose control? I mean, if you look at, and I've tried to warn people about Donald Trump, not that he's, like I said, I don't think he's the worst person in the world. I think he might even have some good intentions. But he is trying to fix a corrupt system from the inside. There is no draining of the swamp so far. And I want you to Google how many of his cabinet work for Goldman Sachs, which are the banks that help control us by gambling our money on Wall Street and making us pay the bills. And instead of calling it theft, they call it taxes. And the education system doesn't teach you how the real world really works. They teach you to face front, stand in line, raise your hand if you want to be told, if you want to ask a question, respect authority. They teach you how to open up a bank account and get a job and work for the system so the few can profit off of our labor. So instead of us being on this planet to do whatever makes us full of joy, we end up slaving to earn currency that puts us further and further in debt, that makes the few at the top that control the system wealthy beyond our wildest dreams. And that is why there are, I believe it's either 6 or 8 people in this world who have more money than half the world combined. So think about those words. Everything is under control. Now, some will say it's paranoid, and there's some silly people out there who'll use the drinking the Kool-Aid kind of expression. Like in the movie The Matrix, there are people who will be awakened and see the scary truth of reality, and there will be those who will deny it exists, and then there will be those that will fight the very thing they will protect the very thing that enslaves them and fight those who are trying to free them. Now, I've never claimed to have all the answers. I probably never will. But one thing I will always pride myself in is at least questioning things, is digging a little bit deeper, is not just following the herd because it's safer. I don't worry about ridicule. I've been ridiculed and insulted and attacked, not only on this channel, but a comic book channel. So I don't really worry about people who are too asleep to see their own slavery, to insult people like us who try and show the world what's going on. And Donald Trump may be somebody trying to make change. I don't know. I can't read his mind. And one thing I've learned in this world, sometimes the person that you think is your best friend will be there because they want to stab you in the back. There's a lot of people who pretend. They will tell you everything that you want to hear. And their ultimate goal is to deceive for the greater good of the greedy. So whether he is true to what he says or not, I don't know, because let's put it this way. Donald Trump is not an idiot. He talks about the corruption in media and yet still allows it to continue on its merry way the way it's always been. He uses Twitter all the time to talk to people. Why can't he he has the money to do it. Why can't he buy his own channel and start his own network? Why does he continue to fight these people? Why does he have people in government that work for the banks that are not on his side? And you could see that they've even admitted there's quote-unquote spies in the White House. So he's either incompetent, stupid, or there's a method to the madness. And this is what I've tried to warn people about. If we rely on others to take care of us, we will always be tricked. We will always be enslaved. This is why for thousands of years in recorded history, there have been more people who struggled in life than have thrived through it. It's because we're always waiting for the next individual to come along and save us because it's easier to do that. And that would be wonderful if somebody came along. But even if you were the most religious person in the world and you believe that there was really a person named Jesus Christ and he came down here to save the humanity, well, what happened to him? Didn't make it, did he? So if in the real world, if that was not just some allegory or not some misinterpretation, and it was a legitimate person that was the Son of God, the creator of all, who came down to earth and took a human form and could create miracles, and he couldn't change the world by himself because he ultimately was placed on a crucifix where he died, then no one individual is going to save the world. And until we understand or understand this fact, we are always going to be relying on others to control us. And that is why the words that I heard on that show, everything is under control, gave a new meaning when somebody said the question of whom, by whom, according to whom. My channel is never going to be the most popular. I am not going to get everything right. But what if I can instill anything in anyone willing to listen, is the ability to say you need to think for yourself. It is okay to question things, because if you question them and you're wrong, at least your verification can prove it. Instead of just saying, well, I hope that person's right, or I hope that situation is true, or I hope that line of thinking is accurate. Wouldn't you rather know? And the one thing the media will never do, they'll tell you everything that you need to know, because that's what agendas and programming is all about. That's why no matter what channel you go on, you'll get a difference of opinion of the same story. They never question it. Show me one station that's dedicated its life to questioning the official story of 9/11, for example. My thing is that control can be taken back by the masses. United we stand, divided we fall should be more than just an American saying. It should be a world saying. And all we have now is multi-billionaires who created money out of the ignorance and the trust of their people that are paying other people to lie, cheat, and to throw others of pure honesty or pure integrity or at least decent integrity under the bus. And I will say now to anybody who gets paid to protest or to interrupt what could help all of mankind, you are the lowest form of scum. And you will get what you deserve one day. And those are the real traitors. And there are going to be plenty of protests coming soon. Right now, it's winter. Not a lot of people want to be protesting in the streets in the middle of a blizzard. But when it gets warmer, there's going to be plenty of people that are bought and sold, that think they're feeding their families. There's always a way to feed your family, but they don't understand the control they're in. Just because you don't have strings attached to you does not mean you're not a puppet if you allow somebody else to dictate what direction you go. I don't need to be a millionaire to be successful. I don't have to have everything in my wildest dreams to be happy. It would be nice, but I control my happiness. Not always easy when you have many people trying to do the quite opposite and hurt you for whatever reasons they have, because people are angry. And instead of doing something to be positive in this world, some of them use their anger to hurt others because they're easier to reach. And the people that are in control of us, the banksters and the governments, and you can go as high as the Vatican, and who knows where it goes from there. They are keeping us fighting amongst ourselves, keeping us poor, keep thinking that we need work to do. Because if you look at the Bible, God didn't make Adam and Eve and then made a McDonald's and said, "Get to work." He didn't hand Adam or Eve a shovel and said, "Start digging up some of the earth." They were supposed to be here to experience a three-dimensional plane where physicality can embrace your soul, your spirit, your ether, your who you are. The sad thing is, if you try and speak any of this to a person that's so indoctrinated, they worry about video games and what the latest gossip is, they will think that's crazy. But you can cut off a person's arms and legs, and they would still be that person. There's more to us than just the flesh. Beings of light. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. I'm sure some of you know which movie that reference is from. The beautiful thing about free will is you can do anything, including be led, because you are in control. You think somebody else is controlling you? If you believe that, and you accept that, then it's your free will that allowed that. So the only way somebody can control you is if you give this consent, and it doesn't have to be physically. That's how much control you have. You have so much control with free will that you can actually convince yourself that you have no control whatsoever. Think about the irony about that. That you can create anything in the world, and because of our free will, we can actually be convinced by others that we don't have any power at all. And we believe it. And we're given that gift of our belief manifesting in what our reality or perception of reality is. So think about it. Who is really in control of you when you have free will? Somebody can suggest that you jump off a bridge. Somebody can even try and throw you off. But if you never go to a bridge, you can't fall off, can you? If you decided to go to that bridge, you've used your free will to put yourself in a dangerous situation, even if all of a sudden somebody decides or some buddies decide to pick you up and throw you over. If you weren't there, it would never occur. So where is the control really? It is in your mind. You have so much free will that you can have the power to say, this person is a crazy Kool-Aid drinking idiot, and shut it off, or not listen, and go on with your life full of anger and doubt and hatred and jealousy and negativity. You could spend your whole life hurting others and get pleasure out of it. But that's your choice. And here's the thing. Any choice can change. But if we continue to have this belief system that these people instilled in us that we don't have control, and we believe them, then what is the sense of having free will? You create your reality based on your belief systems, what you feel. So is it any wonder how certain groups have control over everything around you to suggest that you have no alternative, that you have no other way? They make you believe, oh, well, if you don't go in this one direction, there's nothing we can do, and this is the end. It only is if you believe it. That's why, if you ever watch the Star Wars franchise and listen to what it says, they're talking about your feelings. They're talking about your emotions because it changes reality. You are the Force. And there are people who know more than us and know how to be evil and know how to take advantage of their knowledge of free will, knowing that they could never make you do anything. They just don't let you know that. So you believe what they tell you. That's how powerful you are. And like a light switch, You can turn it off or turn it on or never touch it. It's up to you. So we can continue down this path of division, of hatred, of poverty, of sitting around waiting for someone else to control our lives or make it better or fix it. And it looks like I got shut offline. Okay, it got shut off for a second. Some traitor in the NSA or the CIA doesn't like me. They love trying to shut me down. So, those traitors. But here's the example I want to use. Let's say I said to you, and again, I don't know at what point it got shut off, but let's say I'm going to show you how easily I can control your thought process by just changing a tiny bit of almost the same situation. Let's say realistically, I said you have 30 days to get $1 million. Do you think you could realistically do it? Now be honest. If it was that easy, you would all be millionaires right now. So think about that. If I said to you, you have 30 days to get $1 million, could you do it? Most people would realistically say no. Now think about the situation then. You've already set the agenda of what's to happen next. Because you've already believed that you can't do it, there will be no motivation to do it. So you've created your own truth based on your feeling and your belief, your true belief. We tend to all lie to ourselves as much as possible so we can feel better about ourselves. Now, I'm going to change the scenario a little bit. Let's assume you have mothers and fathers, maybe some children, love people in your life that you love. And let's say I kidnapped every single person in your life that you love, your children, your mother, your father, your parents, everyone. And I made a video showing them all tied up. And I said to you, you have 30 days to get $1 million, or the next video you see will be me slaughtering everyone that you love live on camera. Now let me ask you this. Will you get that $1 million within 30 days? I bet you would. Now think about the situation. Both situations required you to get $1 million in 30 days. The first one, there was no situation that made you even think it's possible. So you didn't bother to even make an attempt. You've already dismissed it before even trying, thus creating your own truth based on your belief. But then I changed the situation where emotionally it would hurt you to not do it. And you went from I can't do it to I must do it. But the situation is the same. It's just the reasoning behind it has altered your emotion, thus changing your reality from the same situation. You have control over everything in your life, even believing you have no control. And you could spend your whole life making fun of other people and hurting other people or doubting yourself or lying to yourself or pretending you're something you're not and wonder why you're still going around in circles and you're still having the same things that bothered you 10 years ago still bothering you today. Or you can decide today's the day I realize that light switch that I have, I can turn it on at any moment. But people were scaring you. Well, let's put another scenario. Let's use that light switch, because I like to have people with a mental image. Let's say that you have a light switch in your room that you've never used before. You don't know what it does. And it's off. And let's say that if you ever did turn it on, that all of a sudden money would fall from the ceiling and you would be set for life. But you never knew that because your whole life you were told, don't ever touch that light because if you turn that switch on, it will blow up the house and everyone around you will die. And they were sincere about it. And these were your family members. And this is what you heard on TV. And for some reason, they built a light switch in your house that if you flipped that switch on, your house would blow up. And you hear it on the news. You learned it in school. and you and your friends, even if a friend said, "Oh, I dare you to touch it," everybody'd stop them and say, "Don't you dare touch that, because you'll blow up." And the people that said that, knowing that it's a lie. But they can scare you into controlling your own very thoughts. They don't have to be in the room to tell you not to touch it. They don't have to have a gun there to prevent you from reaching it. They just have to put it in your thought process that if you do something that they tell you that you shouldn't be doing, there will be negative consequences. Even if it is a 100% lie, you'll be too afraid to test it for fear of the unknown. And people fear the unknown. And that is why people stay in relationships or jobs that they hate or be surrounded by people they don't like or enjoy, because it's familiar and they're afraid of change and the unknown, thinking that it's scary instead of it being an opportunity. So if you went over and flipped that switch up on your own free will and all that money came down, you'd be pretty happy, wouldn't you? Well, that's the thing about this world, ladies and gentlemen. All we have to do is flip on our own switches and we could have everything for the world, instead of having the select few or the ones willing to take a bribe so they can live their lives a little happier, selling out their fellow human beings for their own monetary gain that will eventually lead them to the same bankruptcy we all have, or are going to have. And if we continue down this path, it is going to destroy us all in one way, shape, or form. Or we can change it. Because I've said this, there is no such thing as a set future, unless you believe it. And they are controlling your light switch by telling you, don't touch it. And your light switch is in your head, and they're telling you don't tap into it because bad things will happen. And you believe them, and your free will allows you to be that powerful to believe and create the negativity that will surround you if you try and do things to change the world. I've been trying since 2011, and I will not stop, despite the ignoring, despite YouTube taking away my subscribers and not giving notifications and making sure my videos hardly get reached to anybody, and the trolls that get paid to insult me and attack me and make false statements about me and chop up my videos and take things out of context, and the others who just believe them because it's easier than required work and effort. And I've actually made some progress with some people that I've had supposed problems with, just simply by communicating with them. And that's how easy things can change. If you have something in your hand, right now, hopefully if you're not driving, grab the nearest unbreakable thing around you, whether it's a pencil or a pillow, a piece of paper, something that won't break. I want you to take it and grab it in your hand, not your cell phone or anything like that. Nothing that could break. It could be a quarter, it could be a straw, it could be a pencil, it could be a piece of paper, I don't care. Find something near you that is unbreakable and put it in your hand. Now I want you to lift your hand with that object in the air. And when I count down from 3 to 1, I want you to try and let it go. And I've used this experiment before, but I haven't done it in a while. So you ready? Hopefully somebody out there right now has whatever unbreakable object in their hand raised up high, and I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and I want you to try and drop it. So are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Try and drop it. Now what just happened? There are only two possibilities. You let go, or you chose to not let go. The light switch, off or on. There is no try. There is no in between. A light is either on or off. There is no in between. And if somebody tries to use that sarcastic comment of, well, what if you have a dimmer? Well, a dimmer just means the light is on. It's just not as on. And here's the other thing. If you have both your hands free, take that item up again off the ground. And when I tell you to try and let it go, I want you to let it go and catch it in midair. So you could see how you can change reality, or what supposedly is, because the destiny of that object is to fall to the ground if left unchallenged. But if you try and catch it in air and succeed in doing so, because you can either succeed or fail, you've stopped its projection to hit the ground. So you changed its reality. If you say with doubt, I can't do it, you won't reach out. You allow it to continue on its path. That is how they control you, by thinking you have no control and you have to follow their path, and they're willing to lead you. They're very willing to lead the sheep into slaughter so they can feed them to the people. And they're trying so hard to blame everything on Russia right now. And the media is trying so hard to get us to fight amongst ourselves and hate one another. And it's working. But it doesn't have to stay that way. So I'm not going to tell you to thumb up this video. I'm not going to tell you to share it. I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. You will do what you want regardless. So I have no control over that. I'm just trying to get you to see how powerful you truly are. People wait their whole life for Superman and Supergirl. You are Superman. You are Supergirl. You just have been conditioned to believe that you're not. So who's in control? That depends on your belief system. That depends on what you're willing to do or not willing to do to make the world a better place. So instead of pointing your fingers at everybody that supposedly wronged you, pointing at the system, look at yourself in the mirror and truly look inside you and say, what have I done? Have I ignored everything? Have I ridiculed everything? Have I abused everything? Have I taken advantage of everything? Have I tried to lie about everything? Or have I tried to change everything and see the positive in everything and do what I can to change the bad instead of pointing fingers? They teach us that it's not your fault to blame everybody else. They're telling you, don't look at yourself, don't take responsibility, don't realize that even if you make a mistake, you can turn around and fix it. They want you to think, oh, we'll do it for you. Good luck with that, because obviously it's not working, because are we getting closer to a utopia or further away? And if you cannot answer that question honestly, then you already know the truth. And that's all I have to say. So thank you for listening. I always appreciate those that are taking the time to listen. Think for yourself. Don't be afraid to question things. And stop relying on one person or someone else in your life to control your life. If you can't not do it, somebody will be glad to step in and steal everything in your life that is precious to you. And you can blame whoever you want, but in the end, you will know it was ultimately your decision. You are in control until you give that control to someone else. Thanks for listening. Have a great night. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered.